Hi, my name is Allison, and today I'm going to start off by asking a few questions before my speech. Firstly, who likes to paint? If you do like to paint, then which do you prefer more, acrylic or watercolor? Lastly, would you consider using acrylic paints? Well, my preference is acrylic paint, and today I'm going to explain why you should use acrylic paint over watercolor to paint with. I'm going to do this by explaining acrylic and watercolor's appearance, their drying time, and substrates or the things that they can be used to be painted on. Firstly, appearance. Acrylics are generally an opaque dark color when taken straight from the tube. You can usually start painting with them right away and it doesn't really hurt anything. It provides a solid, intense color, so it's like a base coat on a wall. You put the base coat down and you don't have to really go over it. It's just very good. It makes it widely used for beginners. A lot of people like to start off with this paint because it's very easy to work with. It doesn't take much hassle or time. Watercolor, it's very transparent most of the time. If you want to get an acrylic type color, you really have to layer the paint. It's not just one straight layer of paint. You really have to keep going in with it. You really have to adjust your painting style to achieve the same type of values. There's certain techniques that you have to use to make it clear and less blurry, and it just takes a very long time. Secondly, drying time. Acrylics, if you want to slow down the drying time, all you have to do is add a medium. A medium is basically the same consistency as paint, and you use it and you mix it in with the paint, and then the paint will blend better as well. Colors are given more time to be blended when you add in a medium, and they may dry the bottom layer, and then you can work the top of the coat of paint into blending. So when you do a landscape type painting, or anything that you want to just look really realistic and you want the color to be correct, you can blend them out even on the substrate you use. Watercolor, they're typically very dry paints. The only thing that you can do to slow down the drying time is add water, which is not always as good as it seems. It seems like it would be very easy to just add water to it and it would be great, but it slows down the drying time too much. It takes too long to dry, and that can cause problems. Watercolor does not blend well if dry. If you try to use watercolor while it's almost dry, then it's just very chalky and cracky, and it doesn't look like it's going to blend very well. It's just not very enjoyable. You basically have two separate streaks when they could be blended together in the middle. The water will bleed through the paper that you use mostly. If you try to use too much water to make it more clear or something, it will just drip off the page, and there's a lot more supplies you have to use with watercolor paints to make it not drip off the page or drip through the page. You have to buy like a specific paper and everything else. It's too many supplies. Lastly, substrates. Acrylic paint can be used on almost anything. You can use it on wood, canvas, plastic, metal, fabric even. A lot of people use it on 3D objects, like any kind of 3D thing. You can use like, when people do like the volcanoes for class, usually use like an acrylic type paint that you can find, and it usually just gives a very definite color. Watercolor, it's really just limited to paper and canvas, and even canvas kind of requires a lot of technique to use it on. You have to really layer it on there or it won't work out very well. It really runs off of glass and wood. You cannot use it at all, and especially if it comes in contact with water, it will just run off. Whereas acrylic, once it dries, it generally is not touched by water. It does not wash the paint away. Not easily, at least. If you try to use watercolor like to tie-dye fabric, because it's the only thing it can really be used for, if you try to use watercolor on fabric, it's not going to give you a definite picture. It's going to be very blotchy. So even if you do use watercolor paint to tie-dye a fabric, it's just going to wash out in the washing machine, and that's not good either. You want something that's going to actually stay there, not stain. In conclusion, acrylic paints have many promising properties that make it easier to handle than watercolor. It has a solid color that's liked by beginners. It has a slower drying time when adding mediums to it, and it gives a nice finished look. The paint can be used on almost anything, giving you many opportunities to paint. If you feel like painting or would like to try painting, try acrylic paints. Thank you.